Hello everyone, welcome to Educating Young Minds by Manisha Parihar. So today we will study 7th chapter of Class 6 Science NCERT, that is Getting to Know Plants. If you look around and observe all the plants around you, you will observe a lot of variation. A variety of plants exist around us. Some are tall, some are short, and some are medium in height. Variation exists in terms of size, shape, color of leaves also. Some plants produces big beautiful flowers, whereas some do not produces flowers at all. There exists variation in terms of size, color, shape and fragrance of flowers also. So basically what we are saying is that there is a lot of variation in plants around us. And in this chapter we will study about these plants in detail. So let's begin our chapter, that is Getting to Know Plants. Alright, so based on characters of plants, plants are classified as herbs, shrubs and trees. We will now study about each one of them in detail. First we will study about herbs. Herbs are plants with green and tender stem, green and soft stem, basically non-woody stem, and we can easily bend its stem. Usually herbs are short in height and they have few branches. As you can see in this picture, this is a tulsi plant. It is a herb. So as you can see, it has green and soft stem, right? Non-woody stem. And if you try to bend its stem, you can easily do that. It is also short in height and has few branches also. Let's look at some more examples of herbs. Pudina plant or mint plant is also a herb. Coriander plant or dhania plant. Tulsi, grasses, spinach or palak, wheat plant, all of these are herbs. Some more examples are tomato plant, wheat plant, rice plant, ginger plant, carrot plant, spinach, coriander, pudina, etc. All of these are herbs. Alright. We will now study about shrubs. Alright, so shrubs are taller than herbs but shorter than trees. Yes, they are taller than herbs but shorter than trees. And branching in shrubs, it starts near the base or close to the ground. As you can see in the picture, the branching is starting near the base. Alright. The stem is hard but not very thick, right? Like the stem of tree. It is hard but not very thick like tree. Some examples of shrubs are China rose plant and Duranta plant. As you can see, these are taller than herbs but shorter than trees. They have woody stem and also the branches are starting near the base like this. Some more examples are jasmine, lemon, bougainvillea, etc. So in this picture you can clearly understand the difference between herbs, shrubs and trees. These small plants over here are herbs. These are shrubs. Taller than herbs, they have woody stem also and the branches starts near the base. And these over here, the tallest one, this one, these are trees. Alright, let's move forward. We will now study about trees. So trees are very tall. They have hard and thick brown stem, which is also called as trunk of the tree. This is trunk of the tree. The stems have branches in the upper part much above the ground. As you can see, the branches are starting much above the ground, not like shrubs where the branches starts near the ground. Okay, these are trees. Some of the examples are mango tree, apple tree, jamun tree, peepal tree, banyan tree, coconut, neem, pines, etc. A variety of trees exist around us. So now, can we clearly differentiate between herb, shrub and tree? Let's try to do that. In this picture, can you clearly differentiate between herb, shrub and tree? These plants over here, these smaller ones, these are herbs. All of these are herbs. Shorter in height, soft tender stems, non-woody stem. You can easily bend their stem and they have few branches also. These one over here, these are shrubs. Taller than herbs, woody stem, the branches starts near the base. These are also shrubs. And these are trees over here. Alright. So in this table we have clearly differentiated between herb, shrub and tree on the basis of some characters. So on the basis of height, if we try to differentiate between herb, shrub and tree, so herbs are the smallest one. They are smallest in height. Shrubs are taller than herbs but smaller than trees, and trees are the tallest. On the basis of stem, herbs have soft and green stem, shrubs have hard but not very thick stem, and the stem of tree is hard and thick. So where do branches appear? In herbs there are few branches, in fact sometimes no branches. In shrubs the branches appear near the base, close to the ground, and in trees the branches appear high, much above the ground. Alright, let's move forward. There are some plants that have weak stem and they cannot stand upright. Examples are creepers and climbers. Let's understand about creepers and climbers in detail. Creepers are plants that spreads or creeps on the ground. Examples are watermelon, muskmelon, pumpkin, sweet potato, etc. And climbers are plants that take support of neighboring structures like wall, fence and tree, and with the help of these neighboring structure they climb up. Example, money plant, pea plant, bitter gourd, bottle gourd. Alright. So creepers creeps or spread on the ground. Can you see in the picture? They are creeping, they are spreading on the ground. This is a watermelon plant, example of a creeper. Pumpkin plant, again an example of a creeper. This is also a creeper. Okay, so climbers climb up taking the support of neighboring structure. Can you see that? Here this money plant is taking the support of this tree and it is climbing up. So this is an example of climber. This Karela, bitter gourd, is taking the support of this fence and climbing up. Again an example of climber. So I hope you have understood the difference between creeper and climber. Okay, after studying about herbs, shrubs, trees, creepers and climber, now it's time that we study about parts of a plant. Alright, so all of us know that these are roots of plant, these are leaves, this is the stem and this is the flower. But in this chapter, you will have to learn about these parts in detail. We know that the root system consists of root and the shoot system consists of stem, flower and leaves. We will first study about the shoot system of plant, and first we will study about stem, then we will study about leaves and then we will study about flower. Let's begin by studying about stem. Stem holds the plant erect or upright. This is the stem. We know that, right? Stem bears leaves, flowers and fruits. Two more important functions of stem are: stem carries water and minerals from soil to different parts of the plant through special tubes called as xylem. Stem also carries food which is prepared in the leaves by the process of photosynthesis to different parts of the plant through special tubes called as phloem. Alright, let's understand this. All of us know that roots absorb water and minerals from the soil, right? Then these water and mineral are transported to different parts of the plant through stem. How? With the help of special tubes which are present in the stem, and these tubes are called as xylem. Alright? This is xylem, a special tube present in the stem with the help of which water and minerals are transported to other parts of the plant. Alright. Now we also know that food is prepared by the leaves in the plant by the process of photosynthesis, right? Now this food is transported to other parts of the plant again by stem with the help of special tubes called as phloem. Alright, so what we studied is that water and minerals are transported by xylem and food is transported to different parts of the plant by phloem. This is phloem. Special tubes present inside the stem with the help of which food is transported to different parts of the plant. Alright, so here we have an experiment to prove that stem conducts water, that is stem transports water and minerals to different parts of the plant. Let's look at the experiment. You have to take a glass and fill it 1/3 with water. Then you have to add few drops of ink to the water. We have taken red colored ink here. Alright, now take a herb and cut the base of the stem of the herb and put it in the glass. Observe the plant next day. You will observe that the color of flower has changed to red. How? Because the stem has transported this colored water to different parts including flower, and that's how this flower got red color, right? Alright. Now here also we have a white rose stem. We dipped this stem in blue ink, and what we observed? We observed that flower color has changed to bluish. How? Because stem has transported this blue water to flower, right? So this proves that stem transports or conducts water, right? Alright. After studying about stem, let's now study about leaves. Okay. First we will study about the parts of leaf. So this broad green part of the leaf, this part, this entire part is called as leaf lamina, and the part of the leaf by which it is attached to the stem, this part, the leaf is attached to the stem by this part, right? So this part is called as petiole of the leaf. Then there are small lines present on a leaf, and they are called as veins of leaf. These are the veins of leaves. These small lines present over the surface of the leaf. And the thick vein which is present in the middle of the leaf is called as midrib. This thick vein which is present in the middle, this is called as midrib. Alright? Okay. So now you have understood the different parts of the leaf. This broad green part is called as the leaf lamina. Now this is the midrib. These are the veins. And this is the petiole, the part with which the leaf is attached to the stem. Alright. Now the veins also make a pattern on the leaf, and this is called as venation. The pattern of veins on the leaf is called as venation, and we have two types of venation, reticulate venation and parallel venation. Let's study about each one of them. Alright, if the design is net-like on both sides of the midrib, it is called as reticulate venation. Can you see in this picture? The design is like this. On both sides of the midrib, like this one, right? So these type of venation is called as reticulate venation, found in rose, peepal tree, mango tree, etc. And if the design made by veins is parallel to one another, it is called as parallel venation. Can you see that? In this, the veins are parallel to one another, like this. So this type of venation is called as parallel venation, found in grass, wheat, maize, banana, etc. Alright, so this is reticulate venation, the net-like design present in both sides of midrib. This is midrib, right? Reticulate venation. And this is parallel venation. The veins are parallel to one another. In this one, they are vertically parallel to one another, and in this one, they are horizontally parallel to one another. The veins are parallel to one another. Alright, so this is called as parallel venation. Alright, now we will study about two important functions of leaves, photosynthesis and transpiration. So green leaves make plants food by the process of photosynthesis using carbon dioxide and water in the presence of sunlight. This is photosynthesis, and let's study what is transpiration. Leaves give out excess water in the form of vapor through the process of transpiration. We will study about photosynthesis and transpiration in detail now. Alright, so plants prepare food by the process of photosynthesis, and photosynthesis occurs in leaves of the plant. Leaves absorb carbon dioxide from the air, water and minerals from the soil, and in the presence of sunlight and with the help of chlorophyll pigment which is present in the green leaves, the leaves produces carbohydrates and releases oxygen. This is the process of photosynthesis. Alright. On the surface of leaf, there are very tiny small pores, tiny openings called as stomata, and these openings, this stomata, helps leaves to absorb carbon dioxide from air and release oxygen into air. Basically, it helps in gaseous exchange. Alright. So, with the help of some experiments, we will now try to prove that leaves carry out photosynthesis and prepares carbohydrates. We have studied in chapter 2 that to test the presence of carbohydrates or starch, we can perform iodine test, right? So, we will perform this iodine test on our leaf. But before that, we know that our leaf is green colored, right? And if we will put iodine solution over it, we cannot clearly observe the color change because it's already colored. So first we will turn our leaf into colorless. So for that you have to take the leaf and put this leaf in the test tube and then put spirit over it. Then you have to put the test tube in a beaker which is half filled with water. Then heat the beaker till all the green color from the leaf comes out into the spirit in the test tube. So now your leaf is colorless. Now we can clearly observe the color change. Then take out this leaf and wash it in the water. After that, put it on a plate and pour some iodine solution over it. You will observe that the leaf color has changed to blue-black, which indicates the presence of starch in leaves. Alright, so now we have proved that leaves contain starch. Now we will try to prove that leaves also carry out photosynthesis, because this experiment proves that leaves contain starch, but this doesn't prove that this starch was prepared by leaves only, right? So now we will try to prove that it is the leaves who perform photosynthesis or prepares carbohydrates, right? For this, you have to take a plant and then you keep this plant in dark room for 1 or 2 days so that all the starch which is present in it gets consumed. Alright. After that, cover a part of a leaf with black paper like this and keep this plant in sunlight. Then you will perform the same iodine test on this leaf. You will notice that the part of the leaf which was covered by the black paper remains green by the iodine test, and the other part which was not covered by the paper turns blue-black. What does this mean? This means that in the presence of sunlight, the leaves which were not covered, they carried out photosynthesis and they have synthesized carbohydrates, right? So when you put iodine solution over these leaves, it will turn blue-black, which indicates the presence of carbohydrates. But this part of the leaf which was covered and it didn't get the sunlight, so it couldn't carry out the photosynthesis process, it couldn't prepare the carbohydrates. That's why this part of the leaf will not turn blue-black and it will remain green, which shows that there is no starch present over here. Alright. So this proves that leaves carry out photosynthesis in the presence of sunlight. Okay, so we will now study about another important function of leaves, that is transpiration. We know that roots absorb water and minerals from soil. Some of the water is utilized in the process of photosynthesis for the preparation of food, right? Then the excess water is transpired by the leaves in the form of water vapor, and this process is called as transpiration, right? Okay, we will now try to prove that leaves do transpiration. For this, you have to take a medium size and well-watered plant. Then remove all the leaves of one twig of this plant and cover this twig with polythene bag. Like this, you have removed all the leaves from this twig and then you have covered the twig with the polythene bag. Then cover any other twig with leaves with polythene bag also. So we have covered this part also with polythene bag, but we have not removed the leaves from this twig, right? Now leave the plant in the sunlight for an hour or 2. After 1 hour or 2 hours, you will notice that drops of water will appear on the inner side of the bag that covered the leafy twig. Can you see the drops of water over here? But there will be no water drop on the inner side of the bag with the twig without leaves. There is no water droplet over here, right? This shows that leaves do transpiration. Leaves release the excess water in the form of vapor to air. Here we have removed the leaves, so there was no transpiration. So we didn't notice any of the water droplet over here, right? and in this part the leaves perform the transpiration, right? So we can see these small droplets, water droplets over here. So this proves that leaves perform transpiration. Alright, after studying about stem and leaves, we will now study about flower. Flower is mainly the reproductive part of plant. Different parts of flower are petals, sepals, pistil and stamen. Pistil is the female reproductive part of flower and stamen is the male reproductive part of flower. We will now study about each of these parts in detail. Okay, let's first study about petals. So the colored part of flower, can you see this? This colored part. This pink one, red one, yellowish or orangish, and this magenta one, this colored part. These are called as flower petals. Alright. So sepals are small leaf-like structure. The outermost green color part that encloses the bud. This is sepal. These are sepals. Alright. The green leaf-like structures below petals. These are sepals. These are sepals. Now you understood the difference between sepal and petal, right? Okay, let's move forward. Okay, so we will now study about pistil and stamen. I told you that pistil is the female reproductive part and stamen is the male reproductive part of the flower. So this is pistil and these are stamens. Alright. Okay, let's study about stamen first. So stamen is the male part of the flower. It is the pollen producing part of flower. This is stamen and it has two parts. This one is called as anther and this is called as filament. This is filament and this is anther. Anther produces pollen grains. Alright. Okay. Let's talk about pistil now. Pistil is the female part of flower. It consists of stigma, style and ovary. So this is pistil. Okay, look at this picture. These are the petals. These are the sepals over here, right? Now this is the female reproductive part, pistil. This is stigma, this is style and this is ovary. And these one over here are stamens, right? Okay, let's move forward. Okay, we will now study about ovary. Ovary is the lowermost or swollen part of pistil. This is ovary, right? And if you cut open this ovary, you will notice that there are small bead-like structures inside ovary. These small bead-like structures, these are called as ovules, alright? Okay, so now we know that pistil is the female reproductive part. It consists of stigma, style and ovary. And stamen is the male reproductive part and it consists of anther and filament. Alright. Now we have understood the parts of flower. So this is petal. Wait a minute. This is petal. These are sepals. This is stigma. This is style. This is ovary and together it is called as pistil. This is anther and this is filament and together it is called as stamen, the male reproductive part, right? And pistil is the female reproductive part. Alright, let's move forward. We will now try to understand how fertilization happens in a flower. Okay, so I told you that anthers are the pollen producing part, right? So pollen grains are produced in this anther and then pollen grains are transferred from these anthers to the stigma of the flower. How? By honeybees, by wind, by housefly. So when pollen grains are transferred from anther to stigma, pollen grains will travel down through the style and will reach ovary. In ovary, eggs are present and here pollen grains will fertilize the eggs and that's how the ovules present in the ovary will turn into seeds and the ovary will turn into your fruit. Yes. So after fertilization, the ovary will swell. It will gradually become bigger and bigger in size and it will turn into a fruit. Alright. Okay, let's look at this example. This is a mango flower. So first anthers will get the pollens from the anthers will be transferred to the stigma of the flower. Then The fertilization will happen in the ovary, where the pollen grains will fertilize the eggs present in the ovary. And after the fertilization, the ovary will swell. It will gradually become bigger and bigger in size, and it will turn into this delicious mango fruit, right? And the ovules will turn into seeds. Okay, so this is how fertilization happens. Okay, after studying about stem leaves and flowers, we will now study about roots. Okay, so the roots help in holding the plants firmly in the soil. Roots absorb water and minerals from the soil, and the stem transport these to other parts of the plant. We already know this, right? That the roots absorb waters and minerals from the soil, and they hold the plant firmly in the soil. Okay, there are two types of roots, taproot and fibrous root. So in taproot system, there is one prominent and long main root and a bunch of smaller lateral or side roots that grow from this main root. Okay, so this is taproot. Can you see the long prominent main root, and the side roots are side roots or lateral roots are coming out of this. So this type of root system is called as taproot. This is also taproot. The main root and the lateral side roots. Alright. Okay. Now we will study about fibrous root system. So in this type of root system, all the roots emerge directly from the base of the plant, and they do not have a main root. Alright. So can you see that? They do not have a main root, and all the roots are directly emerging from the base of the stem. So this type of root system is called as fibrous root system. Okay. Now, just by looking at the leaves of the plant, you can tell about the kind of roots it has. Yes, if the leaves have reticulate venation, this type of venation, the roots will have taproot. The plant will have taproot system. Alright. And if the leaves show parallel venation, the plant will have fibrous root system. Parallel venation, fibrous root system. So just by looking at the leaves, you can tell what kind of roots the plant has, right? You don't have to dig the soil and remove the plant and then look at the roots, that what kind of root system it has. Okay. Okay. To understand the functions of roots, you can perform a simple activity. What you have to do is you have to take two potted plants and you have to remove roots from one of the plant, and after that you have to water the plant regularly and for 7 days, and then after 7 days you observe the plant. You will find that the plant in the pot A, this one, with the roots intact, it will stand erect, and it will be difficult to pull it out as the roots provide support to the plant, right? And the plant will show normal growth and development. Why? Because the roots helps in absorption of water and minerals from the soil. But the plant in the pot B with no roots, it will not stand erect, it will fall, and it will be easier to pull it out. The plant will eventually die because there are no roots. Alright. Okay, so there are some plants or some trees which have aerial roots also, like this one, the banyan tree. Have you seen these kind of roots? These are called as aerial roots. Alright. Alright guys, so we have completed our chapter Getting to Know Plants. If you like the video, if you found the video useful, do like and share the video and subscribe to Educating Young Minds. Thank you.